Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Mr. Jones, who is going to be coming to TWD RTS. Visually we can see he kind of looks like the OG Mr. Jones, who was the original Infection character, I believe. I think he was a 5-star and he was involved in some sort of event. He is going to remain tough. He's got that shotgun. He's like a postman basically. You don't want this guy. Maybe you do want this guy delivering your letters. I don't know. He's got a shotgun. You can see it is an attached weapon. We'll look at that later. On the left-hand side, you can see in a bit more detail the art. He's kind of getting chased by walkers right now. Yeah, he's got a little kiddo with him. No details on who the kid is at all, but Mr. Jones is there to protect. He protects. He protects. If you look at his stats, at Limit Break 3, level 720, he has got that low attack stat of 12,856. He has 20,570 defense and 17,999 HP. He is that tough character holding, you know, that rifle slash shotgun kind of style weapon. He is considered a tank, Gold Mythic character, of course, and he's another character to join the Day 1 Allegiance. I believe he's only the second one so far, the other one being Angel. So this Allegiance is being fleshed out just a little bit more, and it kind of seems like potentially characters that were doing whatever they would do on their day job before the apocalypse was happening, and it occurring while they're in the middle of their job. So like delivering letters, zombies everywhere. Very interesting. Now we'll take a look at his adrenaline rush, and it is called Incendiary Rounds. It's a 55 AP cost rush, so pretty fast, kind of the standard speed for a defensive team character. Deal 200% damage to a single enemy and get 100% AP. While battling on the defense team, deal 10,000 burn damage to up to 5 enemies for 2 turns. So obviously this rush can potentially be devastating with its damage. There are very few characters that can remove burn. There are reduction characters. I believe the only character out there that actually has any burn removal is Rosita. But we of course have William as the reduction character. William is going to become like such having to use a standard source of character because this is nuts. And if you have this character in a team with Priya, you know, Priya's got the bleed, Mr. Jones has got the burn, and 10,000 burn is kind of crazy. Obviously you can resist this. There is a possibility of resisting it, but I think there's only a couple of characters who have like inbuilt burn potential resists. You know, you could have base resist, that sort of thing. So, you know, this rush is going to be pretty interesting. 20,000 damage over 2 turns. Kind of crazy. Okay, as you can see, we're coming up against Mr. Jones on a defense team, and I have attacked him a bit, so he has got his AP very quickly. If I just defend on my Rosita, what you'll see is he'll do his 200% hits, random enemy, and then everybody's got the burn on the attack team. It is 2 turns, and, you know, he has got 100% AP again. So if I just defend on everybody, what you'll see is, you'll see the 200% come off again, and then the burn will just effectively refresh at 2 turns. This is going to be a constant thing. Now, this is obviously going to be a massive issue unless you have the counters in game. Like I said, Rosita is one of those. So if I do my signature of Rosita, I can do some damage, and I cleansed Rosita's burn. But because he can rush just again anyway, it's just going to come back up. So you definitely need to be able to stop this guy. He's going to be rushing non-stop. Rushing non-stop. And the burn, even with the reduction, is still going to be just a constant ticker on your team. And it bypasses things like bonus HP and stuff like that. So it's always going to be an issue, of course. So we'll look at the upgrades on this Adrenaline Rush. And you can see at grade 2, it gets +1 to burn duration. So originally it is only a 1-turn burn. But then it goes to a 2-turn burn. At grade 4, it gets 50% AP boost. So originally he gets a 50% AP boost after doing a rush. Now he gets 100% AP boost. At limit break 1, he gets plus 5,000 burn damage. So it goes from 5,000 up to 10,000. And then at limit break 3, the AP is reduced to 55. Originally you would assume it would be 66 because that's kind of like the next grade jump. 55, 66, 75. So you would assume it would be 66. 66 is still reasonably decent on a defense team, but obviously LB3, 55 is just going to be easier to get. You're going to be able to make this guy much more stat heavy on his weapon, and he's going to have much higher survivability because of that. This rush going off is going to be a problem for sure. And you're going to have those reductions, like I said, or the cleanses in place, or this guy's going to be a problem. You can obviously control this character if they are 100% AP, but if you don't, he's just going to be rushing freely. And even the 200% hit could eventually kind of whittle down certain characters. Now, Mr. Jones, of course, does have a signature move, and it is called Heartstopper. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 2, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited. One enemy gets minus 66 AP. This character gets a Guardian Shield. Obviously, the minus 66 AP against an attack team character is generally their rush, regardless of, where they're at. It's going to happen on Mr. Jones's turn 2, so that on a natural progression without any speed up on characters, they will rush on turn 3, and this will come in the turn before. The end of their turn 2 will come to Mr. Jones's turn. He'll do his signature move. One of those characters will now no longer have a rush. What makes this really powerful, obviously, is the fact that you can normally kind of get commanded past the AP drain of some characters. You can't in this situation. Unless you've got some other forms of AP gain, this is one of the most powerful. This is basically zeroing you out on your AP. You see these minus 100 AP weapons. This is pretty much doing the same against a lot of these attack team characters. Now, the Guardian Shield, of course, is nice and just frustrating. There's no real ways to deal with Guardian Shields other than splash damage. Hoping to get those side attacks in just to remove it. Otherwise, you've got to waste an entire attack to remove that Guardian Shield, and more often than that, that is the way it's going to be. So that isn't too bad at all for Mr. Jones, and just keeping him, more frustrating than anything. Okay, so we're coming up to the signature move turn, and what you're probably going to find is that Mr. Jones will use his signature move, get that Guardian Shield, and one of my characters will be AP drained. It'll be interesting to know whether he focuses the character with the higher AP or not. I would assume he does. We're going to defend. The AP drain comes in, and it zeroes out Lydia. Whether he's going to focus the person with the highest AP every time, but it could work like offensive AP does. If I do a move that gives AP to somebody, a random teammate, it will always give it to someone who has the highest AP already. So that with NWO, with Titan, and Trader Leader, if you want to give Titan his rush from rushing with Trader, he has to have the highest AP, otherwise it's going to go to the Gentleman. And it could potentially be the same way with defensive AP drain, where it will just focus the guy with the highest AP, or potentially how Neutralize works, where it will still focus the person who is going to rush just to remove their rush. So we'll check out the upgrades here of the signature move now, Heartstopper. You can see at grade 3 it gets -1 to starting cooldown. So originally it is going to be a 3-turn starting cooldown, and it goes down to 2-turn starting cooldown. This is obviously a nice change. It's going to come in pretty easily at grade 3. At grade 5, it gets the additional -33 AP. So initially it is going to be 33, then it goes to 66. Again, this is going to be quite easy to come by. The Limit Break 2 will be a bit more difficult. -1 to cooldown. But I don't think the cooldown is that big a problem, especially if he does get his rush just popping off. He's just going to be rushing constantly. If you get him to LB3, he'll be able to naturally get a rush turn 3, no matter the situation, unless he obviously gets controlled and stuff like that. But if he's left to his own devices, he's going to have enough AP to get a rush turn 3 without having AP on attack, because his rush will turn to 55. His signature move is in the first 2 turns. It's all the good stuff. And this is just a very frustrating signature move. It's going to stop you from effectively being able to get ahead of Mr. Jones as one. If you have that controlling rush that could come in and just control Mr. Jones before he rushes, and he just zeroes your AP out. Well, it's going to be a lot harder to rush, isn't it? It's going to be a lot harder to rush with 0 AP. Now, there are some characters I think that exist in the game that do have AP resist, but it's very, very narrow right now. I think it's Atlanta Rick. I don't think anyone's using Atlanta Rick. Especially not against Mr. Jones in what will probably be pre-air defense teams. That alert, Atlanta Rick is not getting much issues there, that's for sure. Potentially there could be some characters that come in the future that have it, but otherwise this is just going to run riot. Your big damage dealers are generally going to be, the ones with the AP, and they're generally going to be the ones that are going to get zeroed down. Now we'll take a look at Mr. Jones' mythic abilities. These are his passive skills. He has got strength because he is a tank, so he's going to get that 40% critical hit resistance. He has got immunity boost, At the start of each wave, all tough teammates get a 40% infection resistance for the first 2 turns of combat. This is actually obviously really powerful because if he used Mr. Jones on a Priya defense team, that's going to be full tough characters. You can just make a very, very tanky tough team, and you're not going to have as much issue against infection in those early turns. Now, there are a couple of those characters that have cleanses and stuff, but you can control like Priya cleanse, so you can stop that from even being able to happen. And infection was, you know, potentially a really good way to get through these extremely high defense team characters, because infection is just zeros someone's HP after a certain amount of turns. So 40% infection resistance isn't huge, but there's very few characters out there that can deal much infection at the moment. They can do like one attack that just targets one character the majority of the time. So it's almost like 50-50 if that infection's even going to land. Next up is short life. At the start of each wave, 50% chance a single enemy gets 25% infection for 1 turn. So this is going to be really, really damaging if you don't have any heal potential on your attack team. Someone's going to get infection for 1 turn, and they're just going to get absolutely destroyed after 1 turn. Doesn't matter about their HP number, doesn't matter about their defense, doesn't matter about anything on their stats. If they don't have this healed up or cleansed in some way, they're just going to be taken out. Now, if you have got a healer, it should focus that character when it comes to the heals, based on everyone being 100% HP. But if you don't, like I say, you're in a lot of trouble. Now, you should have one more passive. It's called Guardian Angel. When a teammate dies, 45% chance this character gets 50% Halo for 2 turns. This obviously doesn't really need much introduction because we have got characters that do this already, like Vance. This isn't the 100% chance that Vance has, and it is kind of differently situated where it's other characters on the defense team being taken out, and then Mr. Jones will get that Halo situation. But that is a really nice passive, because that means you've got to focus Mr. Jones. And I'll say that on one other part of his kit, you don't necessarily want to focus Mr. Jones. You want to take out his teammates first, so that Mr. Jones is left till last. We'll take a look at that in a second. Okay, if we look at the defense team, you can see the 40% infection resistance on the tough characters, Priya and Mr. Jones. On the attack team, you can see Herschel has got the infection from his passive, and he did heal it a little bit. Somehow there was some healing in here. I couldn't really actually work it out. But it doesn't matter if you've got 1% or 100%. If it expires, you know, it goes down to 0 turns, and it's still on you, and you haven't healed it, it will be an instant death. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out some of these characters here. You can see he had a 50% chance, I think, 45% chance, and he did get Halo for 2 turns because a teammate got taken out. Obviously, in this situation, it's very easy for me to take out these lower level characters, but it will happen when it happens to higher level characters as well. Basically, any teammates that get taken out on Mr. Jones on his team will give him 50% Halo, or give him a chance to proc that. Now, if I defend on everybody, you'll see Herschel just get taken out, and that's because we didn't heal that infection. And that is the full potential of his passives. So we'll just go straight into the upgrades. You can see at grade 1, he gets immunity boost part 1, and that's 20% infection resistance for all tough characters on the team for the first 2 turns of combat. And then you have strength 1 at grade 2, 20% critical hit resistance. At grade 3, you get immunity boost 2, which is going to stack with immunity boost 1, obviously, making it 40% infection resistance for the first 2 turns for all tough characters. That's going to be actually really useful for sure. And then grade 4, short life. At the start of each wave, 20% chance a single enemy gets 25% infection for 1 turn. And at grade 5, we have the first half of Guardian Angel. When a teammate dies, 15% chance this character gets 50% Halo for 2 turns. When we move on to the limit breaks, you can see that he gets strength 2 at LB1, making it 40% critical hit resistance total. At limit break 2, he gets short life 2, and that'll make it a 50% chance a single enemy gets 25% infection for 1 turn. And then at LB3, he gets Guardian Angel 2, making it a 45% chance this character can get 50% Halo whenever any teammate is taken out. So if you take out one teammate, goes to the next turn, you don't take out Mr. Jones, and you take out another teammate, it should refresh just up to 2 turns. So like that's why you potentially would want to focus Mr. Jones first, just because if you take him out before you take teammates out, then there's less chance of Halo proccing on him, where he'll just automatically come back. What Halo basically means, if someone's taken out, they'll get instant revived unless they're decapped, and the next turn, and you've seen it with certain characters like Vance is very frustrating, and it's going to be exactly the same situation with Mr. Jones. Now, the reason it's going to be hard to deal with Mr. Jones is going to be the combination with that passive and this specialist skill. This is the specialist skill we saw on Claudio, and you can see that it's tenacity 2. If this character's health is above 20% and they take a damage that would kill them, their health would be reduced to 19% instead. But this, obviously the tenacity 2 part is this character cannot be decapitated, and that counts where just normal decap hits from actual decap specialists, or it obviously counts with crosshairs as well. Now if he gets normalized, that's a different scenario, but you're again, like same thing I said on Claudio, you're wasting effectively a normalize on a character just to be able to make sure they stay down, whereas specialists that are much more like effective during the fight. If you've got a Davey on a defense team, if that hit self-heal procs on his passives, bonus HP's everywhere, it can be a massive issue. So you can see it as a waste. You could wait until last and try and decap him that way, but if you're taking other teammates out, you're going to have to do it that way, otherwise he's potentially got Halo, he's going to make the fight extend 2 turns. He's basically just going to delay things even longer than they were getting delayed already. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, Mr. Jones does have an attached weapon, and it's pretty basic, but it's quite nice, especially if you don't have any of these weapons, so you can't build some of these weapons in the armory. Mr. Jones' Vengeful Shotgun. It has a 35% HP boost, a huge bonus to AP when taking damage, and it has Elusive Impair. When being attacked, a better chance to impair the enemy and get elusive for 3 turns. Now, I would probably just make this a full stat weapon, even if you don't get him to 55 AP. Survivability is going to be extremely important. His signature move is nice. You're obviously going to take an extra turn to get his rush, but once he gets his rush, he doesn't need any AP anymore anyway, and you kind of just want to work towards his LB3 so that he can get his rush a little bit quicker. This is kind of like the weapon you'd want to build anyway, so you go for like 35% HP, 30% defense, elusive impair, and then you'd have 2 more upgrades, so you can make it 45% HP. Then in the last slot, you could go for 50% damage reduction from critical hits, or you could go for tough healing, whatever you want to go for. And then you've got 2 more 5% to play with. You could bring the defense up to 40%. You could bring the HP up to 55%. Mr. Jones behind a Priya, he's not going to have too much trouble with defense rating. His HP rating is going to be a little bit lower. But obviously, as you guys probably know, if you have a higher multiplier of percentage defense on your weapon and you're using it with a defense leader, you're going to get like a little bonus because they'll also multiply each other to give you just a little bit extra, a couple of thousand. So sometimes it is better to have the higher number be the multiplier that the leader has as well. So this was Gold Mythic Mr. Jones, another tough defense character coming into the game. You can see that tough defense team kind of just like rounding out a little bit at the moment. We've got Priya, we've got Mr. Jones, we've got Angel, and that's just from the newer characters. We've also got older characters that can definitely work in those teams, but I would not be surprised if we saw at least 2, maybe 3 more tough options coming in for that team. Considering Angel was a battle pass character, they may do another character other than her, just for that like premium defense team. And it does seem to be the tough team at the moment. Those attack versus tough mods are going to be extremely important indeed, extremely important. And you can get one of those attack versus tough mods in the event for Telltale, the season 1 event. So if you want to go check out that information on how to get attack versus tough on a crit set, check out the video link in the top right hand corner. But for now, that is the end of my video, guys. Do leave me your thoughts on Mr. Jones in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.